to relocate because they anticipate one of their courts to go over into our time. Several of you are very familiar with this being a meeting place for our committees, several years ago. And I might point out to those of you who would wish to address committees, you'll just come to this podium right over here and you can address our committee. At this time, the chair will recognize Chairman Hahn of the Education Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We call this Education Committee to order. Anyone wishing to address the Education Committee, you can come to the chair, or the podium rather, at this time.
I don't think he's speaking.
Linda Noe, 2343 Joe Stevens Road. My question is, when were the packets available to the public to know what this is all about?
Saturday morning, when they were online.
Saturday morning, the internet service at the courthouse was down, and they did not get the packets online until Saturday morning.
Friday evening. Friday evening.
Oh, Friday night? Well, mine was Saturday morning.
And so if somebody had not been able to go online and wanted to get a hard copy, when's the first opportunity they would have to pick one up at the courthouse?
Friday afternoon.
You were open when they posted it?
It was done.
When was it posted?
Friday evening.
I know.
It was after hours. I think it was around 6:30.
So nobody would come by then because the courthouse is essentially closed.
Mine was posted at Friday at 5:16.
You went online and saw it?
No, I went up, that's when she said it would be ready. But I looked at it and it said 5:16.
Right, when you asked if it
I
was.
was writing bulls about that.
Okay. And that's the problem we have with everything that's going on today is lack of information that's out there. Even commissioners didn't have information until at the earliest late Friday. And just forget the public.
We had a tornado that kind of wiped us out on Friday, for everybody, not just us.
I know about the tornado.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else wishing to address the committee? All right. We have no old business, so let's move on to the new business. Item 4A, West High School Project. And we'll ask that Dr. Perry, Hamblen County School Director, will come to the podium and overview that for us.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, certainly a pleasure to be here with you this evening. Thank you for the opportunity. I did give you a packet of information. We won't go over every single page in this because we have been over it before. I did want to just highlight a couple things. First of all, in the scope of work that we're talking about, we do have some required work. We have to put in sprinklers, we've got to put in fire pump, we've got to make some restrooms ADA accessible. So there's a couple of things that we just have to do. There's no question about it. We are going to expand the cafeteria, do the restroom renovations. We're going to expand and remodel 4 and then just simply remodel 4 of them. New HVAC throughout the building with the exception of the freshman academy, a new administrative wing, parking, which we told you was optional if the budget came in well, and then the gym restrooms. If you remember back, this is the same presentation that I gave you probably about 2 months ago. At that point in time, we said that we thought the estimate would be about 10.6 million. So we didn't really change anything. All of that's still the areas that we're in, with the exception that we've added in now those additional restrooms at the gym. And so with this, these are the same things that we've been talking about the entire time. So fire pump, all that kind of stuff, we went over that. The cafeteria expansion is very quickly going to add an additional 5,000 square feet to the cafeteria, going to renovate 5,000, that will give us almost 700 seating. With the restrooms, we're going to expand and remodel 4 of the restrooms, and then just simply remodel 4 of them. With this, you can see in the green area there where the renovations are. This is something that we wanted to talk about because we had discussed this, but I don't know if we actually said what we were going to do. Currently, this is where the main wastewater lines come out. So, and as you can see, they go right through the middle of classrooms and hallways. We were worried about those particular pipes at an earlier meeting. I showed you the camera view of those pipes. We got down in there, and some of those pipes were, of course, very deteriorated. What we're going to do after talking to several people, including the town and some other people that have used this product, they have what is called a wastewater membrane. And what they do with this is they first of all attach a robot that has a kind of little rotor piece in it. It will go through all of these lines and it will knock out all of the high stuff in it. So any rust, any burrs that are in there, it will go ahead and make that smooth. Then what they do is they pull a membrane through there, and it looks a little bit like a fire hose, and it's flat. They pull it through, then they activate it with certain chemicals, and then actually it expands, and then it will be the same durability as Schedule 80 PVC pipe. So with this, that would eliminate the need of tearing up these hallways, which is going to be astronomical, and then never would look right again. So everywhere where we have these blue lines here on the page, that will be lines that we will go ahead and put this membrane in. And then we don't have to tear the floors, hallways up. We really found that this would be the most economical way of doing this. We talked to a couple different people who had this. They seem to be pleased with the product. Some of those folks have been in it almost 10 years now, and that seems to be working. So, heating and air. Now, again, this is the biggest part of the entire project. So about 60, probably 65% of the whole project is just heating, air, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So we're not talking about a lot of new things, not talking about, a lot of bells and whistles with this. This is just basic maintenance on this, because almost every single unit that we've got up there right now is over 20 years old. And that's past the life cycle of most of those. New administrative area, going to add about 7,000 square foot. It'll have that secure entry vestibule outside that we talked about, so that when folks come in, we can actually visually look at them. Also, the school resource officer will have an office up there in addition. You have the diagrams there so that you can kind of see those. It would be basically put right out here in the front. That's the main entryway right now. So you would come into this area right here before gaining access. The administrative assistant, school resource officer is right here. So we'd let you in the building, get you out of the cold, the wet, all those kind of things, and then let you into the building if indeed you have business. And we don't deem it to be a security. Also, we talked about a wide range of options for additional parking, and we've not yet clearly identified which area. We do have area up in here that we can go to. We do have this area, we've got this area, we've got some area out in here. So as we begin to move forward with this, we're going to talk to Clint Harris, a couple other folks, about which one of those would give us the most parking for the amount of money that we've got. As we did open up the bids a couple of weeks ago, Joseph Construction out of Knoxville, they came in at $8.7 million. Laney & Sons was just a little bit behind them at 8.779, and then Burwell was 9.3. So as we look at this, there was a couple of things that we took out of the bid. And the reason why we took them out of the bid is that we wanted to control specific parts of the job. And then it also reduced costs. For example, on the wastewater membrane, we don't have to pay the architecture and engineering fees with that, which is 5.5%. We wouldn't have to pay for the general contractor to get their overhead profit. We're going directly to a vendor on this for that. Also on technology, we seldom ever bid out the technology and let the architects and engineers get their 5.5% and the general contractor get their overhead, because we can do it cheaper and we know what it is and we know exactly what we're putting in. And then also, we purchase the technology, so we don't pay sales tax on that, so again, a little bit of savings in that area. Parking, we will do this outside of the big scope because it's a relatively simple project. We wouldn't need a lot of A&E work on that. We can do that with the help of some of our local folks. And then we kept the gym and the auditorium restrooms out because when we presented last time, a commissioner asked us if we could put that in to see how much it would cost to do that. We didn't have enough time to get the full construction documents done, but we do have some estimates for that. We think those estimates are pretty secure. So this is the budget that we're looking at now. The base bid was 8.7. The wastewater membrane is about 200,000. The architectural and engineering fees somewhere right around 500,000. It will be a certain percentage of whatever the total would be. Additional restrooms, right now it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 400,000. That would give us at least 10 additional restrooms. And then we would have additional parking at 300,000. The technology is about 250,000, and that would include things like the switches. Those switches sometimes can be about $40,000–$50,000 a piece to do some of that work. It would also be all the drops, all the wiring, everything that we would need for the technology piece, intercoms, phones, some of those kind of things. So the total is 10.3. If you remember back on that earlier slide when we came to you about 2 months ago, we estimated it to be about 10.6. And then if you also remember, a month beyond that, we actually had a lot more things into this particular program. If you remember, we had an upstairs on the administrative section. We also converted the cafeteria into some CTE space, so welding and some of those kind of things. We took all of that out to make sure that we could get the budget down to what we thought would be a reasonable amount. And so please know that we took a lot of things out, very conscientious, because we know a lot of things are needed with the jail, helping out some sheriff's office, some of those folks. We know the commission's done a lot of things, so we do want you to know that we did take many things out without sacrificing what we thought were safety issues or what we had to operate. So original budget was 10.6. We did get it down to about 10.35. So, Mr. Chair, commissions, any questions? One other thing, just so that you know, in terms of the restrooms, we would have about 16 additional restrooms with this now, or 16 additional water closets and urinals after we get done. So, and then over
With this design, not counting the gymnasium.
the gymnasium, we're gonna get about 13. And what we did with that is that we are gonna do that to about a 3-to-1 ratio, 3 restrooms for the females per 1 for the male, because it just takes a lot longer for females to get through. So we'd end up adjusting that just a little bit.
This membrane,
Yes, sir.
now, before you were gonna pump it out. Now,
We were.
That's dead, right?
Yes, sir. As we began to look at that, where we would grind it up and then pump it, as we looked at that, that was probably going to exceed this cost or be about equal. And then you've always got the problems with that failing. This will be gravity flow, and we feel a lot more comfortable about that. The only reservation that we have is if they send the robot down and the rotary piece gets in there and we see that the lines have collapsed entirely and we can't inflate the membrane, we would have to go do something else. But we did send some cameras down initially, and everything does look as if this would work. So this would be all the main lines would be gravity flowing out to the main line. And the neat part about this is that actually becomes then the rigidity of Schedule 80 PVC pipe,
I
which
was a little bit worried about pumping it upstairs.
we always are worried about that. You know, we had a redundant system in that, and that's always bound to fail at some point in time. This does seem to be a better option, then we don't have to tear up the floors.
Dr. Curtis, on the Baxter administration area,
Yes, sir?
there was, I thought we was gonna go add all the way across the front where your office would be. I know you're gonna have offices down front and make those offices in the middle of classrooms, am I correct?
Yeah, now this is the front of the building right here. So
Right.
that's the front of the building on the left-hand side if you were looking. So here's the auditorium, here's the gym. So this administrative wing will go from where the door is right now,
Right.
the front entryway, all the way over to the edge.
Right. But I thought we would add more on out to the right.
No, that's one of the things that we did to cut down on the cost, because originally we actually had this plus an upstairs that went all the way across. As we began to do that, that would have added another $2 million to the project, and we thought that was gonna get too much. And so what we did is we stuck with this, and then that gave us everything that we needed to end up taking care of those needs that we had and create savings.
Will the additional restrooms at the gym be on the end, on the north side?
Yeah, what we're looking at with that is that here's that corridor that goes out. We would actually end up putting those, and what we're thinking right now is that actually it'd be more like a rectangle with female on one side, male on the other side with.
Build out there.
We'd have to build out because we have no space, on the interior, and then trying to chip up that floor and put wastewater lines in.
Did we lose that exit door by doing that?
No, because what we're going to do is that hallway will actually go on out. So you go out that, and then you just keep on going, and you could use that for an emergency exit. Now, all that, of course, is subject to the state fire marshal approving everything, but we've had some preliminary conversations, and it doesn't seem like that's a problem. Because you still have the exits, out here, and then there will still be an exit, you just gotta go a little bit further to get
Will
out.
we lose the canopy or overhang out front?
We've actually got another canopy that's a little bit more attractive, and a little bit, has a little bit more dignity to it, that when you come in, it looks a little bit more classy, it looks a little bit more dignified.
More 21st century?
It does. You know, when we have taken some of these prospective people, you know, Van Hoos and those folks, that's not a great first impression with what we have right now. That canopy is very old. It's, you know, it's very dated. So this will be a little bit newer. It'll be more airy, more open. Mr. Stipp, did you have a question or concern about that? I knew.
But I'm just thinking, if we do this now, are we gonna get the classrooms we want?
We would have enough classrooms right now if we could convert this inner office into some of the areas that we need. The only thing that I feel that we're missing is if we had more area for CTE. That's really the direction some folks are going. You know, right now, one of the major industries that we have in Hamblen County and the surrounding area is actually hospitality. We would love to have a culinary arts.
I'm just hoping, because 10 years down the road, we're gonna need more classrooms, and, you know, I just wish if we get it now, it's like affordable.
It would be cheaper right now. One of the reasons why we elected not to go out here too, it did kind of block the view of these folks. It does block the view of these, but we just really couldn't find any other way to do it, so. Right now with classrooms, we're okay with the number of students that we have if we were to increase dramatically. We're one of the few school districts too, actually, in eastern Tennessee that actually is growing. Most of them are actually losing students, and we've actually increased.
What's construction timeframe?
The bid from Joseph was 310 days. So what we would do is that we'll come back to the commission, I believe, on the 19th, and if funding is approved at that point, we're going ahead and moving forward with a contract. And so we'll negotiate everything, get everything ready. If funding is presented, then we'll go ahead and have a special call meeting, probably on the 20th or 21st, whenever that time frame is. And then we will go ahead and get started. They're actually already mobilizing some things at their risk. But we are wanting to make sure that we hit the ground at the end of May, because we'll get more done in those 2 months.
When's your last day?
It's right before Memorial Day, so May the 22nd, 23rd, somewhere around in that area. But we should be finished by the fall of next year.
Now, you said that, when you get finished with the cafeteria there, to have 4 sessions there in the cafeteria, you're gonna cut down to 3, is that correct?
Yes, sir, and the primary thing that we are looking at with that is that the problem that we have right now, we have to run 4 sessions of lunch with that, and then what that does is that a lot of kids are going back and forth to east and west, and as we do that, the kids that are coming from west, if you have that last lunch, you're missing sometimes 15 to 20 minutes a day of going to class. And of course, if we could run those schedules simultaneously, then we can get kids back and forth without any problems. And that does save us money, because what we're doing right now, instead of having 2 programs, for example, having 2 welding programs, we would have 1 and kids would just come over. We have nursing where kids will come over and take that, and then we don't have to offer 2 programs and pay teachers dual on that.
Good.
So the cafeteria is to help kids have a quicker lunch, because right now, if you're at the very end of the line, you only have about 5-10 minutes to eat. But the main thing is to ensure that we can get kids back and forth to the school without losing a lot of instructional time.
Your welding, is it gonna be in the old facility where it was before?
Now, we don't have a new welding piece, but we do have new welders, and we did put, and I forget the number, but we increased maybe 12, 15 welding booths that we put in there, self-ventilating booths, so it really worked out well. What we do with the welding is that, with the welding, which we have back in this area, that's almost full now with kids, and then kids will take welding 1 and 2, and then it slides right into TCAT, so that they go over there and weld, and that is such a high demand area right now. And with Van Hu and some of these other folks coming in, we couldn't produce enough welders. And actually, some of our kids are getting dual credit, so they're actually getting college credit while they're welding in high school. They're picking up college credit to do that, so when they go on to TCAT or Water State, they get credit for that.
Anyone else? Dr. Fair.
One second, back to the memorandum, just a second.
Yes, sir.
You know, the bid on that and everything, I assume it comes with a warranty. What concern, I know new technology is amazing, it's all this, but they put it in, they say it works, we're gonna be able to prove that it works.
Well, the thing that we did is we did call a couple of the individuals that were using this product. Everybody has been very pleased with it. I don't know if the town or if the city is actually using this exact company, but they're using a product very similar to this. And as we talk to them, I think some of those lines now are almost approaching maybe 10 years or so. So from Mr. Clement actually talked with a number of folks about this particular membrane. And,
I mean, it sounds amazing, I just I wanted to make sure we had a backup plan, that it's gonna work as they said.
well, I think when we, switched to penicillin, a lot of people were worried, if that was gonna work too. And it proved that it did. this is one of those things that it does seem to be holding up. Nobody that we talked to had a bad experience with it. Doesn't mean that our experience is gonna be great, but, we're pretty confident. This has actually been around for a while. We actually considered this almost 20 years ago when I was in Wise County. About the same kind of reason, that the main sewage line went right down the middle of the hallway. We actually went a different route, but, they've had 15, 20 years to perfect this.
Anyone else? Thank you, Dr. Perry.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, thank you.
4B, an amendment to Resolution 19/02, declaring the intent of Hamblen County, Tennessee, the issuer to reimburse itself for certain expenditures relating to school improvement projects with the proceeds of bonds to be issued by the insurer. Mayor Britton, do you have anything?
The intent of this amendment is to amend the resolution that was passed in February of 2019, 1902, which was, it stated in section 2 that the maximum principal amount of bonds issued expected to finance the activities with basically the school project was not to exceed $10 million. And so what I'm proposing is that if you choose to fund this proposal or this ask by Dr. Perry, that we amend the resolution 1902 with the new resolution to $12,400,000.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Thousand.
Did we get a second, Tim? Okay.
Let me make sure I was clear.
Okay, hold on a second.
I may have said 12 million, I meant 10,400,000. That's what I meant.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Mr. Chair, we appreciate your first motion.
That's what's splitting that.
Okay.
Perry didn't.
Okay, let's do this again. Do I have a motion? Got a motion, second? Tim Horner, thank you. We'll do a roll call vote.
We're talking 10-4.
$10.40.
Okay.
Where's,
Want to do roll call?
yeah, roll call, please.
So you meant it by 400,
Correct, 400,000.
400,000,
Yes.
what you meant, okay.
Jeff Baker?
Yes.
Eileen Arline?
Yes.
Chris Cutshaw?
Aye.
Randy DeBoer?
Yes.
Thomas Doty?
Yes.
Tim Goins?
Aye.
Bobby Hahn?
Yes.
Tim Horner?
Yes.
Joe Hunson?
Aye.
Mike Minnick?
Yes.
Wayne Neesmith?
Yes,
Howard Shipley?
Yes.
Jim Stepp?
Yes.
Okay, the word is not here. 13 yes, and 1 absent.
So it passes.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, let me ask a question. We've already got the bonds, I mean, money here, right? So when do we transfer the money to the school and get them started?
The way we're gonna operate it is the school system, the money is now deposited earning interest.
Right.
Okay? All right, when the school system will submit detailed requests, payment requests, and then upon approval, then we'll send the money to them.
And you're gonna do that on the 19th?
Yes, sir, we'll come back, and then hopefully the entire commission then will vote on it and approve it, and then we will go ahead and approve the contract, and then right after that, and then we can start drawing down.
Yeah, one other thing too, just thinking about that too. He needs some time, that once the contractor, the bid, I guess the bid's already gone now. He's gonna take time to have to get all this stuff together, maybe a month or two to get all this stuff before he can start working, is that right? So I just,
They're
I
already
just
mobilized.
didn't wanna have to hold up this school because of the money situation.
Well, Bobby, let me ask you this. There wasn't a motion on actually funding the request. If you want the committee to make that recommendation to the commission, or vote that up or down.
Okay, to fund the request,
Mr. Chair, I move that we fund the
yes.
request.
I'll second. Okay, you wanna do a roll call?
Yes.
Okay, roll call.
Jeff Baker,
Yes.
Eileen Arnline,
Yes.
Chris Cutshaw,
Aye.
Randy DeBoer,
Yes.
Thomas Doty,
Yes.
Tim Goins,
Aye.
Bobby Hahn,
Yes.
Tim Horner,
Yes.
Joe Huntsman,
Aye.
Mike Minnick,
Yes.
Wayne Smith,
Yes.
Howard Shipley,
Yes.
Jim Stepp,
Yes.
Taylor Ward is absent. 13 yes, passes.
Motion passes. Mr. Chairman, that's all we have.
Thank you, Chairman Hahn. At this time, Chairman DeBoer, the Finance Committee, you're recognized.
We call the Finance Committee to order, please. Do we have any visitors wishing to address the committee? In recurring business, we have the approval of the checks. Do we have a motion for approval as submitted?
So moved.
Got a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Any question? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, like sign? Motion carries. In old business, we have none. In new business, 4A, designating the disposition of the interest earned on the proceeds of general obligation bonds. Mayor Brennan?
Scotty, you chime in here if I say anything wrong, okay? It is, in your packet is a resolution that basically instructs, or the key word in the bottom paragraph is directs the county trustee to report any of the interest earned on the bond proceeds to the debt service fund to help pay off the bonds that were issued, the 2020A bonds. So basically what this is authorization and direction to the county trustee to record those interest dollars to the debt service fund. That's what it's for.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion we do this stuff.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4B, donation to remote area medical, referred to as RAM, for $5,000. Commissioner Mike Minnick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, we have a chance now to do something concrete and really immediate. I know we always fund everything here for the use of the community. But there's a lot of people in this community that need the health care that Graham provides. And I would like to make a proposal that we donate from the general fund or wherever $5,000 for the RAM people coming in early April at Walters State. And along with that, I'd like to challenge the city council to match that. So I'd put that in form of a motion if we need to vote on that now.
What does RAM do?
Funds illegals.
No, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
There are some there, but there are people in their community.
No ID required.
They provide health care for indigent people who are in the community that have no insurance. And definitely need of just the basic medical things that they need. And it's dental, medical, eyeglasses, and there are professionals in this community that donate a lot of time to that.
This is a one-time deal.
Yes, they come around.
And does this have potential to offset other costs on down the road, Mike? As far as, like, it's gotta be funded some way, so either we're going to fund it as a county commission, or it will continue on to a state or a federal level, et cetera.
And this is strictly a donation. Yes, at some point in time, there'll be other funds that they'll have to access to, and we're just trying to help the community out.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4C, use of opioid lawsuit proceeds. Commissioner Minnick?
If anyone read the paper on March the 2nd, this opioid suit is winding its way through the courts right now, through the system. Right now it's fluid, there's no amount that has been set. Earlier, I think the Herb Slattery is the state attorney general. He signed off on a $12 billion, but that's for like 20 states. And the other states who's involved in this did not go along. So they think they may be able to get, from what I've heard, what I've read, maybe $25 billion, which will be distributed among the states that are involved. I think as a county, we'd like to be proactive and maybe try to attach some of that money that will be coming here and designate it for this jail and justice center to help the community out and the taxpayers. And I'm opening that up for discussion.
Do we have any other knowledge of when this may come down, or this is just something that may come?
I think it will come, we just don't know the timing of it yet. But I would like for us to be proactive.
Right. And you're just saying designate what money we get toward the funding of the jail and justice.
As I understand it, some of the monies will be appropriated elsewhere. But I think we need to at least have a resolution that the bulk of the money that we get will go for the jail and justice center.
Why are we getting money?
I'm sorry?
Why are they giving us money for? Is it for treatment or?
No. This is from the drug manufacturer.
Is this, okay,
Opioid.
it's a lawsuit?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's awesome.
I think it will be wise for this body to let its voice be heard in context of this potential settlement of this case, that it wants to apply some of those funds to the jail project, because obviously opioids are a big aspect of why we're having to build this jail. So I think it would be wise of this body to make at least Herb Slattery and Dan Armstrong and everybody that's involved in that from Hamblen County or representing Hamblen County to know our feelings about it. Certainly there will be money for rehabilitation and treatment, but there also needs to be money for prevention.
So if we make this resolution, then they'll know that Hamblen County stands, this is what we want to do with that money.
I think the resolution should state the monies that we get, how much we get, some of it will be applied to the jail and justice center. It's too fluid now to know how much or what percentage that will come to us.
Would you be willing to insert the word operational costs of the jail and justice center? I mean, along with the construction,
I don't have a problem with
Okay.
that. And I'm just bringing it up for discussion.
And one thing, I've talked to General Armstrong a couple of times about this. There is a trial date set for, it's later this year, for the case that the DAs in Upper East Tennessee are involved with, and they're representing Hamblen County as one of their jurisdictions. He said in some of the draft settlements that he's seen, there have been mentions of direct payments to counties and payments to like the judicial districts, but there have been mentions of direct payments to counties. And what he asked is if any resolution that we pass, that it refer to the direct payments that Hamblen County would receive from any settlement. And I think what what Commissioner Minnick is suggesting is valid, that it be used for operational or capital, including the jail, but also, I personally would like to see some of the proceeds used for treatment or for reentry programs, to get folks back in. And maybe even, and this could, maybe even through juvenile court, a family court of some kind, as a prevention method. So, because that's where the at-risk families are, and usually are in the court system. But I think being proactive is great.
Is it something we need to put a percentage on?
That might put us in the corner, you know, if we just say, here's our priorities,
Okay.
you know, that kind of thing, and put them down.
So really, this is more of a message to share how we would like to see this money used.
Correct. That we've given some thought to before. Now, Mr. Chairman, what I'll do, if Mike's agreeable to it, I'll come back down with a resolution prepared for the committee.
Okay. So we have a motion for a completion of a resolution, and do we have a second?
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. And item 4D, budget amendments. D1 is accounts and budget for $2,450, Ms. Hurst.
This is just an interdepartmental budget amendment because of the change in selection of medical insurance within the department.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second, any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4D2, Fund 101, accounting and budgeting for $1,644.18. Ms. Hurst?
Again, this is one of our employees, Amanda Hale, attended the comptroller's CCFO program, and the comptroller's office reimbursed our department for this program. This is money that came in and we have to put it back into our budget.
We have a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion.
Got a motion and a second?
Second.
All in, any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item D3, for the Sheriff's Department, $10,116.25.
These were funds received from insurance, for again, the detailed here for a Dodge Police Charger, and we're putting the funds back into the repairs and maintenance line item for the Sheriff's Department.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
What you say this money, this is because they wrecked the car?
That's, it was repairing the damages. I don't remember the exact accident on this, but yes, they got insurance proceeds for this accident. And this puts it back into the line item for the repair.
So this $10,116 come in from the insurance company?
Yes, it did.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Got a second, any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item D4, Fund 101, Civil Defense for $50.
It was a refund.
You have a motion to approve. You have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4D5, County Mayor's Office for $1,250.
This is for a test project. Where the Sessions Court is going to try texting defendants before their court appearance to see if this will improve attendance. To see if this will, because if they don't attend, they either get put into Don Baird's work release program or they go to jail. So if they can attend court better and show up for their court dates, this will keep folks either out of jail or relieve some of the burden on the work release program. So these funds are coming out of the contract with private agencies, a line item, just to see if this will actually help people make it work better.
Well, we're
It's a
assuming,
test, you don't know if it's gonna work or not, right?
No, this is 3 months test program.
and we're assuming that defendants have cell phones. I mean, if I have a cell phone.
That, the public defender's office requested this, made this request, and that's, yes.
Do they not already know their court date? I mean,
Sometimes it's wrong on papers.
No, well, lots of times, they've been notified, yeah, but sometimes they're not in a state to remember.
I understand. Okay.
So this is
So a 3 month test period.
correct.
This is,
We got a motion, do we have a second? Mr. Ripley?
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second, any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4B6, Mayor Britton, $5,000.
Well, this is the budget amendment to fund that donation arrangement.
Yes, it is, and this was provided that it was passed in the
Previous.
condition, in the motion earlier.
Do you have
Needed a
a-
budget amendment to go along with it.
Do we have a motion to approve? Got a motion? Got a second?
Second.
Got a second, we've got
this
discussion?
come out of, debt service? Where you gonna get it from?
No, we have a line item where provided that we needed any extra funding for, to put into our self-insurance fund. And it looks again, like I think, what is this, 6 years in a row, that our self-insurance fund will not need any extra funding. So this is where we were able to take this.
I thought you guys had to post for public before a donation went to a 501c3.
No, that's
For so
what we
many
don't
days.
have to post. If it goes to anything other than a charitable organization, we do not have to post.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4D7 for the sanitation fund, $7,000.
This is, during the course of the year, they've used more overtime in the sanitation department, and they need $2,000 more than their longevity line item. They have it in their equipment operators line item. This is interdepartmental, but because it has to do with salary, you need to approve it.
Do we have a motion for approval?
Make a motion.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Question. How can you have overtime? Do you work on Saturdays?
Holidays and Saturdays, isn't it?
Most tree goes down.
There's-
Sometimes.
They go to work at 7 and get off at 3:45.
But
They're off half a day Friday.
Now, here's what I'm seeing, now, when I analyze their overtime line item, I'm just telling you what I went back over the past 5 years. About 5 years ago, they were using about $20,000 a year in their overtime line item. About 2 years ago, we cut it back to 14 because they had 1 year where their overtime was exceptionally low. They're using, again, about $20,000 a year. So we've been basing on the past 2 years, because last year we had to put money back into their overtime line item. And this year we need to put it back in. But their average has been about $20,000, and this will make it about $20,000. Their budget in about, I think, the 18-year was running for, and I can't explain that, I can't. That was the year that I came, that it was exceptionally low that 1 year. And we And that was the year that we tried to take a lot out of the different budgets. I think some of you remember that year. But they've been running on an average about $20,000, and this will make that line item about $20,000. They run primarily overtime when they're on holiday and when they are actually doing extra brush pickups. And this will cover those particular needs. Overtime related to holidays and extra brush pickups. And we'll make it up about, on the average is what it's been for about the past 5 years.
Did the flooding have anything to do with their overtime recently?
Not that I know of, Commissioner. And these were the things that I was able to find out when I looked at the averages and asked the specific questions about it.
And this is not necessarily all accrued at this point. They haven't used all this up. This will get us through the end of the year.
Yes, that's what I have been told when I've been, when Barry, the Superintendent Poole and I discussed it.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second? Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I just can't see where the overtime comes in. I mean, they're
Well,
not
when
working
they-
at 7:30 at night.
When they have a holiday, to make that up, they start at 6 a.m. in the morning, you know, on the makeup days. So there's some overtime. And I know there are a few people, a few occasions when some of the employees have had to work on Friday afternoon when they're supposed to be off, you see.
Trees fall across the road, they
Yeah.
gotta go out there and fix.
Extra, for the extra brush, that's what I was
Yeah,
trying
extra
to,
brush.
what I was trying to express about the extra.
Brush.
After storms.
Storms and brush.
Tree in the middle of the road.
Did I tell y'all about the storm I got out my place, been laying out since August? 5, 6 loads of brush, it ain't been picked up yet.
Yeah, but you don't have a name on your road.
Maybe they need to do some overtime to pick that up.
They just thought you would need to prepare with it.
I'm gonna bring it tomorrow, so.
We've got a motion and we have a second. Do we have any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4D, 8, Fund 131, Highway Public Works for $29,215.
This is just a reclassification, basically, from laborers to truck drivers, and how, when some of the new folks were hired during the course of the year, and reclassification from truck laborers to truck drivers, and then getting the classification of the supervisor director's line item correctly, but just basically her department.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a motion, we got a second. Any discussion?
I'd like to know why that wasn't involved. If budget, never got budget comes again like that, it looks like those budget things would be. I mean, why would this make a difference? Why wasn't this budget in the start with?
When I'm given the budget numbers from the highway, at the beginning of the year, I put it in according to the information that I'm given. But when new people are hired during the course of the year, they may be classified in a different line item. So at this time of the year, when we're trying to make sure that everything's gonna come out correctly at the end of the year, then it looks like they're gonna need more money in truck drivers than they had originally planned.
So it may happen again this next year.
It could always happen again this next year. At the beginning of the year, we know how people are classified. If in the course of the year, as people come and go, they may classify them in line items where there isn't as much budgeted. So this is the time of the year when we're trying to do any kind of cleanup or any type of, that type of thing.
You know, what Ann does is, to her credit, is during the middle of the year, right before budget season starts, she meets with the larger departments, like with the sheriff's department and the jail folks and highway and sanitation, to make sure that the different line items, the people that they are being paid out of certain line items, that they're correct. And we have the right number of people and the right people that we're paying out of the correct line. It's an accounting thing, but when it comes to your budget time, it's very important. And so she'll go into the budget process with the right numbers and the right line. But it's fluid, it changes.
And you may remember, and I know I'm just gonna throw this out there real quick. You remember this time last year, we had a real need for more overtime in our sheriff line item, our jail, and our corporate security. Right now, and I know things can change because our departments, as you said, are fluid. We are looking in much better shape right now than we were this time last year. Because we're doing the same sort of process, looking at where each department stands, where we have, needs. Now, as you know, anything can change, particularly when we're talking about, particularly the jail and law enforcement. I'm not trying to speak for what's going to happen in any particular department. But things are looking in much better shape at this time, this year than they did a year ago. But, just to let you know. But again, we do look at each of these bigger, particularly the bigger departments, just kind of see where we stand.
So, item 4.8, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 4.9, Fund 131 for Highway Public Works, $169,829.
And this is basically to reappropriate funds for the 2020 Kenworth Model T80 cabin chassis. This is basically an audit-based entry. We had the purchase of this vehicle classified in the year ended 2019 year, but because it was received so late in the year, I believe it was either September or October, audit classified it in the year that we're in now. So we just have to make this entry to agree with the audit classification.
Is this the truck that we sent back?
I believe that it was, actually, because, we said that we weren't gonna receive it, and it had to go back, and so it came so late in the year. So it resulted in being received very late in the year.
So we hadn't paid for it.
We got it eventually, but it came late. Does that make sense? Am I saying that correctly?
Was it paid for when we got it?
Pardon?
Was it paid for when we received it?
We paid, no, we paid for it late, no. But in order to make our books agree with what was shown on the audit, we just have to make this adjustment.
It's my understanding, we just didn't accept it.
No, we didn't, no,
We didn't pay nothing, they sent it back.
no. But we eventually sent it back and got one that we didn't.
Right.
Is that the knuckle boom truck we're talking about that was sent back?
I move that we approve.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. We've got item number 4.10, employee life insurance. And that is Mayor Britton.
Yeah, I'll address that. I think you have on the table a spreadsheet that has the results of the bid that the school system issued for life insurance and accidental death insurance. This is a benefit that the county provides for about 290 of its full-time employees. We provide $20,000 worth of life insurance and then an accidental death rider that doubles that if the death is accidental. We piggyback off the school system's bid because normally it's cheaper because they have more covered lives than we do and than if we went out on our own. And so the results of the bid, the low bidder was Miller Assurance Company of Morristown, was the agent for US Able, and it is 8 cents lower than what we're paying today for these two benefits. And so the school board is going to meet tomorrow night to whether, I guess, vote to approve the low bid. And we were looking just for a motion to approve that we approve the vendor that they choose. And this it'll save us $300, in a year's time as a whole. But this is a 3-year contract.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, just 1 second. As my wife is county employee that would benefit from this, I do want to recuse myself from this.
Thank you, Mr. Doug.
I move that we approve.
We've got a motion, we've got a second, Mr. Huntsman. Any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. And you have items of interest, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman DeVore. At this time, we'll recognize Chairman Doty of the Personnel Committee.
I call the Personnel Committee to order. Is there anyone who would like to address this committee? Seeing none, there's no old business. Move on to new business. Item 4A is the approval of education pay submissions. We have one employee who received their bachelor's degree, and that's the amount of $850 that we will be giving to that person as pay submission. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second. A motion and a second. Any discussion? Mike, sorry. I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Your board second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, no one saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Being none, we move to the next. Item 4B, approval of longevity pay submissions. We have 2 employees that have 3 years of service, that's $225 each. Do I have a motion to approve this?
Motion.
Second? Second. Motion and second.
Joey can.
Joseph.
Joe.
Got a motion, do I have a second from the
Second.
member? Thank you, Mr. Ford. Have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 4C, approval of military pay submission. As one employee with 16 years of service, which comes to a total of $1,600. Do I have a motion to approve this?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Items of interest, there is none. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Doty. At this time, the chair will recognize Chairman Goins of the Public Service Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. Anybody wish to address the Public Service Committee? Seeing none. Items 4A and 4B, we are sending back to the city, my understanding, and we won't be voting that, so we need to take that on the regular calendar.
Back to the beginning.
Pardon?
I apologize.
Back to the
Four.
city plan.
Planning. We're going to take it back to the city. Item 4C, 5-year reappraisal plan for Hamblen County. Mr. Ely.
Gentlemen, in your package, you have a 5-year reappraisal plan. And just give you a little bit of a background. The state of Tennessee Department of Property Assessments gives you an option to do a 4-year, 5-year, or 6-year plan. Normally, a 4-year plan is usually your bigger counties. There's about 7 or 8 of those. It's got, their assessor office has got about 100 to 140 people in it. Excuse me. The people that does the 6-year plan is the small counties where it's usually just assessor and one, they have to use an administrator that helps them. Majority of the counties, probably 85 counties or so, in the state does a 5-year plan. So that's what you have in your packet. That's what we've done since I've been here. And it's broken out by year. The first 4 years, there's 31,600 parcels in this county. We do about between 7,500 and 8,000 parcels a year we inspect. And we do that based on quadrants in the county. We do that for the first 4 years, and in that 5th year, we go through the whole county, inspect all 31,000 for the reappraisal, okay? So that's what you're having.
31,000.
31,600, yes. We have a little 30,000, we got about 34,000 total parcels, but that includes personal property. And we inspect those every year, so, so you all need to have to approve that plan, and then also in your package, you have the resolution there, and you also have a memorandum of agreement there with the state that basically says, I'll do my job, you'll supervise me, make sure I do my job, and then they also commit that they will support our county and do certain things also. So that's what that memorandum's in there for, okay? So you all can review it. And that's gonna be signed, all three's gonna be signed by the county commission and the chairman and the mayor and myself. Any questions?
Any discussion?
Wouldn't that be a savings? If you went to 6 years to 5 years, doesn't that cost you for each thing you're appraising out like that? That costs you money? And if you change the 6 years.
Well, the 6 year, when you do a 6 year problem, while everybody doesn't like a 6 year, in the 3rd year, you do a index. You increase property values based off of index, whatever's going on that year. And that's national index. We may not have a good year, we may have a bad year, a real good year, and you don't know what's going to happen in the county. So most counties stay away from that unless they're a real small county, okay? So, I mean, it could save you money, but you still got to inspect every parcel. You just go in a different cycle. You do a 5-year cycle inspecting 20% of the county each year, then you do all of it in that 6 year. But you still have the index in the 3rd year.
5 years increase from the 4 years, so you're saving a little bit more from 4 to 5 then?
Well, we just don't have the staff, to do it every 4 years. I mean, you gotta realize, I got 2 field guys, and really the way it sets up now, they have 5 minutes per parcel. If that's all they do, just review parcels. They still gotta pick up new construction. We got citizens that calls us, wants to come out and look at a piece of property, and we try to get out there within 24 to 48 hours. Anytime somebody calls, we try to get it there. We don't want them to leave them hanging. We may not be able to help them, but we want them to know that we've heard them and we want to get out there. So that takes time also. So really, if you really look at it, we're spending about 3 minutes per parcel right now when we look at it. Because you go out and pick up, like Hamblen's got that big addition, both my guys will be there in half a day just working on that, picking that building up. So.
Do you do personal property to Howmet and J-Tech and all?
We do everybody, yes, sir.
Molly?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Old guys that's been there for 15 years, they still pay personal property on if they're in that building.
Yeah, most of that stuff, depends on what category it falls in and stuff, it depreciates out to about 20% and it stays on the books at 20% on that. And then on the large accounts like that too, we also contract with tax management associates, and they actually have accountants that go out and actually audit those big companies. Because to be honest with you, I'm not an accountant or anything, I can't go in and audit, so we contract that out.
It's a lot of time.
It's a lot of time, but we get a benefit from them because they may do all of Molly locations in different states, so they just go in one time, do it all at one time, or a Howmet, or somebody like that, or J-Tech. But we don't really audit small ones like these guys that sets up with kiosks up at the mall and stuff. You just ain't got time to go.
If you're auditing dies, and then these companies, like Larry Seaver, sends all those dies to Mexico, I'm sure they'll let you know they're not there anymore.
If they don't want to pay taxes on it, they have to let me know. Yes. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, do it.
Mr.
Chairman, I move that we approve.
Got a second?
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. Anybody got anything, they couldn't see me? Okay, any questions? Okay.
All in favor, make a motion by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Okay, resolution, authorizing the continuous 5-year resolution appraisal cycle. Do I, have a motion?
I make a motion, we do it 5 years, same as it is now.
Okay, second? Tim? Everybody approved, by making a motion, saying aye? Aye. All opposed? Memorandum of understanding between Hamblen County Division of Property Assessment, Tennessee Comptroller for the Treasury. Explain that.
That's basically just says that I'll do my job and you all will monitor that job, make sure it gets done. You'll support me if I need staffing or anything like that. And it also lays out what the state to do. They'll furnish the software, they'll, in that 5th year, do the base rates and stuff like that. It's just agreement that we both will help each other out.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion? Motion. Second.
I'll say.
All in favor, say, make a motion saying aye.
Step.
All opposed? Motion passed. Surplus of auto, Hamblen County Sheriff's Department.
Keith, when do you start your project?
Do what?
When do you start this?
Reappraisal?
Yeah,
We started last July.
I do that.
And the good news is it gets mailed out April the 17th.
Tell what?
He's not here.
He's not here? Okay, this is surplus.
I move that we approve.
Okay, do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Make a motion saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Who was the second?
Who's the second? Bobby. 4G, agreement with donation, between Hamblen County government and Out Day Service.
Tim will address that. There's some computer equipment that you had already surplus. And we were just waiting to recycle it basically, and the Alps director saw it stashed away and asked for it to be donated, so.
They can use it. I'll make a motion.
You make a motion? Do I have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Chairman, that's all I have.
Thank you, Chairman Goins. At this time, we will recognize Chairman Horner of the Justice Center Jail Project Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to call the Justice Center Jail Project Committee to order. If anyone who wishes to address this committee may do so now.
My name is Linda Noe, 2343 Joe Stevens Road. I was looking at your request for proposals on project management services, and I just had some questions. Like page 1 talks about a review committee. Who is on that review committee?
We'll discuss it. It's part of the discussion.
It's what?
Part of the discussion that we're gonna have during the meeting here.
So nobody can know what it is to make a comment on it before you discuss it. I understand. On page 7, you have minimum qualifications or license to do business in the state of Tennessee. What kind of license do you have to have? Is that for discussion during the meeting?
This is a public comment.
The problem with the public comment period is you don't know what's going on, and evidently you all don't know. Nobody's answered us. 2 simple questions for a document that's in your packet. But I can guarantee this will pass, and here we go. We've been barreling down this road, and we continue to barrel and pick up speed.
Steve, Ms. Noe, we do not need any kind of, commentary from you on this stuff. We know what we're doing, we got it under control, okay? All you need to know.
What about the 23-year-old that just died?
We got it.
Okay, so nobody cares about a life.
I guess I thought this was a public comment, excuse me, let me let you finish. How many of you received the letter from Sheriff
Ms.
Jarney?
Noe, I think his point is this is public comment, it's not public questioning.
Exactly.
It's public comment. There's no obligation here. My understanding is they're going to discuss these things here at this meeting. So why don't you just wait and listen to see what you hear?
So do we get to comment after the,
Because I'm a taxpayer, that's why.
yeah, so do we get to comment after we know what's going on?
Good question. You won't get an answer though. A letter was sent to every one of you dated January 13th, 2020 from Sheriff Jarnigan. I will assume you opened the email and looked at it, but just in case you didn't, he is again saying we need a one-level jail. And that has been stated many times by Sheriff Jarnigan, by Commissioner Neesmith, by other people.
It's been stated many times, but have we not voted on that? And it has passed, correct?
I
And
assume
that
my
issue
time
is
is not going off
done.
while Mr. Goins goes. He has said it would be cost-effective, no elevators required, safer environment for employees and inmates, fewer, if any, blind spots, and fewer jailers required, just to mention a few of the advantages. He says estimation of the current plan is to hire around 150 employees for the multi-story jail that could raise the jail's payroll to who knows what. Taxpayers will be heavily burdened. He mentions the trip made about 4 or 5 years ago where Mayor Britton, Chairman Eldridge at the time, Captain Laws, and the sheriff attended the Colorado Jail Construction Seminar. And this was to, what they came back with all these ideas. They formed a citizens committee, which rarely met. And one of the first things that was addressed out there, according to the sheriff, was to build with plenty of room for expansion and never build up unless your building site is landlocked.